right. Okay. So now we actually have double recording, which is more than 2 times what we had last week.
It's way better.
Way better, way better. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit share this here screen. Then we're going to do an intro.
Bring me everyone. What do you mean, everyone?
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of limit champ or lucky track dog league you run, SCCA or NASA, we don't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussions, tips and tricks, as well as news and notes from the world of amateur endurance racing. And whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough, and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
Well, there's no Chris and there's no Chrissy, but there is a Tim.
And I'm Mental. And we are Everyone Racers. I'm scrolling back up real quick. Okay. And welcome to a crankshaft position sensor A circuit range performance bank 2 episode of our podcast, because it's episode 346. And as you might have already guessed, OBD2 code P0346 is camshaft position sensor error. Common causes include a faulty camshaft position sensor, or more than likely it's not plugged in from the last time you fiddled with something. Yeah. A damaged crankshaft position sensor reluctor wheel, and symptoms include the check engine like intermittent bucking or surging and decreased fuel economy with the engine stalling intermittently.
Ask me how I know. Well, actually, Mental, it's episode 346 version 2, because last week we had a great interview with Eric Rude and nobody hit the record button. So
No,
if
no.
you're actually listening to this, that means we did accomplish the recording, and off we go.
Progress. Yay. So aside from learning how to actually use the program that I've been using for almost 350 episodes, we talk about what you're working on. And mine is continuation from last week, but it's all news to you now, dear listener, because you missed it, but it is RV dejankification. So I've got a proper lock, and I've been installing a new outdoor light. And ideally, before I leave tomorrow afternoon for High Plains Raceway, I will have a new awning, which is good because it's scheduled to rain Friday night. I have also been doing Formula V education, been reading an entire thread on Grassroots Motorsports about that, and storage. And then phase 1 of my why have I spent 2024 crashing all of the cars. Just this week I had my neurology appointment, so we've gone through some symptoms and we've got some lines of treatment, and we're going down that path. And while I was hoping she would just be like, oh, it's, you just screwed up, quit being a sissy and get back into the race car, she listed off any number of symptoms, or rather any number of potential causes that can affect people of my condition and my age. So excited to get some answers, not really excited that there might be something wrong, but in almost every case, she's convinced that it's treatable, and we can deal with all that. So on that depressing note, Tim, what are you working on?
Well, I'm glad that that there is a path to a new 2025. That's a good thing. Because if
Yes.
she was just like, I have no idea, like, good luck. That'd
Yeah,
be way worse.
you suck, man. How about that? You ever consider that? You just suck
Yeah.
at this.
Tried lawn bowling. How about that?
With a bocce ball, or yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
Oh,
Um, well, I am finalizing CAD drawings for my dream garage build that we've got. The foundation's poured. We've got the trusses, engineered trusses on order, so I'm just gonna get a couple more things dialed in as far as where like stair fall is gonna happen, and a couple of little details like that. I'm ordering parts for my 1961 Mercury 60 horsepower outboard motor.
Which is a crap ton of horsepower in 61 for an outboard.
Yeah,
That's legitimately impressive. And I know everyone thought they'd get away from everyone boating without Chris and Chrissy here, but too bad. At least
I
this
had
is
to
power.
just grab the reins. I had to just grab the boat reins and go.
Awesome.
I will be doing no sanding though. There's no sanding on my boat happening. But finding parts for a 1960 motor is really hard. So that is you need to really be committed to it. I'm like 6 Facebook groups deep right now, so we'll see. We'll see what I can figure out with that. And
at
then
least like a Mercury, like that's a well-known one. It's not like, you know,
Yeah.
some fly-by-night.
Yeah.
Who are these idiots? You know.
Yeah,
Nice.
but it's pretty. There's a lot of people that are geeked out on these motors, but most of them are in like their garage on an engine stand. They're like, oh, I've got this crazy fun antique, and I was like, no, I'm like towing somebody with skis with it. Like, it's not a garage queen. I'm using this thing.
So what's I am curious. So what's the reaction to that? Like, how dare you? That's a classic. You use it as a boat motor. You should, you know, what do you mean you use the ashtray in your Porsche?
It's I would say it's similar to like somebody that's got an antique Porsche like that, for your example. Like some people are like, oh, I've got 12 miles on it. I'm not touching it with anything other than like white gloves. And then the other guy's like, yeah, the front splitter is a consumable because I'm taking it to the track. So
Awesome.
yeah.
All right. I think you know which camp most
mindset.
of our listeners fall into. The,
Yeah.
you know, a toy never played with is not a toy. So good on
correct. It's art. And I'm not into art. I like art, but I like toys better.
I like functional art, you know.
Yeah.
A 1961 Mercury outboard, that, you know, that was back when people engineered things with slide rules, and, you know, the concept of design it for a lifetime was not ridiculous. You know, when's this thing supposed to give out? Never. Yeah. So I look forward to seeing it.
For anybody that likes working on old cars and old distributors, right? So you've got points. I mean, this is old school points distributor. Well, there's 2 sets of points. They call it the dual magneto. And when I've reached out to 5 different marine mechanics in the area, and I see that I've got this older 61 boat motor, and they were like, no, that's not an older motor. That's an antique. We don't work on antiques. So we can't get anybody to touch it. So therefore I am learning how to do it. So off we go. So that'll be a fun project for the summer. And then
awesome.
Lastly, I'm working on some penalties for the Denver race. So
that's right.
I've got a couple of good ones. I've got a night specific penalty that should be super fun. That may include an evening scavenger hunt. So that ought to be a good one. So I'm looking forward to that.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Super fun.
All right. So we're going to move on to
and notes time.
Speaking of functional antiques,
how would you like to own and operate a piece of racing history? Well, now is your chance. The famed Willow Springs Raceway is accepting offers. Yes, the fastest road in the West is up for sale with listing agents Team Scarborough. It's located in Southern California, about an hour northeast of LA, and established with the help of legendary racer Ken Miles in 1953. This 600-acre complex has 7 racetracks, balcony autocross, skid pad, a quarter-mile autocross, drift course, Big Willow, which is the 2.5-mile road course. It's in Gran Turismo, iRacing, and a few other sim applications. Also, Horse Thief Mile, the famous mile-long road course with numerous elevation changes. I think they use that mostly for motorcycles. The kart track.
I know Vera uses it for a hill climb too.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah. That's right. They have a kart track. They have the Willow Springs Speedway quarter-mile paved oval, the streets of Willow Springs, which is a 1.8-mile road course, and then the Walt James Stadium 3/8 mile clay and paved oval. Outside of that, there are off-roading options among the 160 desert acres up the mountain. You can see the guys going up there, usually into the evening. It's pretty cool.
It is.
There's admin areas, spaces for dining, catering, and gift shops, a fuel depot, thousands of gallons of tank space, a pit complex, and all the other ancillaries a running track would need. There are also water wells, which is good to have in Willow's inland desert location. For decades, it's hosted average track day for cars and motorcycles and racing schools, drift events, commercial shoots like that for the Jeep Wagoneer, movie shoots like Ford versus Ferrari. It's the famous last scene in the movie where Ken dies.
Or even like in the beginning, the
yeah.
opening scene when he's racing the Cobra and he throws the wrench.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great scene, by the way. It's done car launches like the 2012 Chrysler 300 SRT8, the 65 Shelby GT350R competition, the 2022 Porsche Taycan GTS. This listing advertised. Good. I'm good.
No, Taycan. That's just how we say it.
Oh, Taycan. The listing advertises everything Willow Springs will offer to the new owner. However, it didn't list the price. Instead, it's inviting any interested to submit an offering memorandum, which would be a first step to being considered a viable buyer. An assessment on the site from June 4th, 2024 values the complex at $2.25 million. Yes, the location is going to need some investment, but the stated value is less than the price of a single example of the dozen or so supercars that have debuted there the past few years, or a single family home in LA. Even if you're not going to buy, we recommend going to the listing and checking out the timeline on the track, the family legacy pages, and a link to the Autoblog article of Jonathan Ramsey is in the show notes.
It is. And I think Dean and Jackie in our group chat have a rock solid plan for what could be known as Party Rock Springs Raceway.
It'd be pretty epic.
All right. Step one, we just go out there for a weekend and we repaint all the curbing. You know, instead of the, red and white, it is red, purple, red, green, red, gold.
Yes.
Yeah. Little cheetah in there every now and again.
Absolutely.
All right. In really, really stupid ways to die. And I love that you found this because I was going to talk about the new Mercedes driver, but this one is so much better. You've got Beverly Braga over at the Drive. Quote, do you want to know how to get to 55 miles an hour and still set a land speed record? Well, all you need is a wheelbarrow that can go more than that. Dylan Phillips' creation was clocked at 52 miles an hour in Yorkshire, Northern England. There is a picture of it if you're watching this on the YouTube. If not, of course, we've got a link in our show notes. 36-year-old mechanic from the rural Southwest Wales has built this wheelbarrow scrap scooter mashup in his shed and now owns a speed record with it. Off to Straightliners Speed Week he went. Straightliners hosts multiple day and weekend events throughout the year in Europe and the United Kingdom, providing affordability and access to straight line events, drag racing, motorsports, and basically anything that can go fast on wheels, which apparently includes wheelbarrows. Among the crowd of supercars, superbikes, and the super curious, Phillips broke the Guinness World Record for fastest motorized wheelbarrow. His official speed was 84.627 kph, which he managed on his final run. The previous fastest wheelbarrow was 74 kph or 46 miles per hour. Quote, I feel on top of the world, said Phillips. I mean, it's absolute nonsense, really, but it's quite a nice feeling. Adding, everyone loves it. It's so stupid. You can't help but smile when you see it. It's ridiculous and borderline foolish, but when stupid is done right, it can be one hell of a ride. And that is a motto for life, Phillip. I love this. Thanks for finding this, Tim. That is a fantastic article, which of course is linked in our show notes.
For those of you that are listening in, there is picture a wheelbarrow and then a motor on the front wheel of the wheelbarrow, and then he's got a concoction behind it that he's kneeling on and holding the wheels, leaning forward to grab the handles
Yeah.
of the wheelbarrow and then kneeling down. So his knees are like an inch and a half from the pavement going 55 miles an hour. It looks terrifying.
What concerns me is that I look at this and I'm not scared. I look at it and go, oh God, that makes my knees hurt. Because you have to do that for like a mile. Oh God, I'm getting old. Because I would
So
totally
true.
ride that thing. Totally.
Oh, so true.
So bonus points if somebody shows up with one this weekend for a pit vehicle.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't even have to go 50. 30'd be fine.
10. There it is. That's all we needed to do in the pits. Or if you show up one but in September, or you've got until Thanksgiving, build one for Sonoma. We will be most impressed.
Yes, very much so.
All right. So you poked around on Racing Junk and found something else awesome. You were like, this is like you just like doing all the great research stuff. I'm gonna just take the whole thing off and hand the show off to you for a couple weeks.
I was having fun, and I found this, and I immediately had to tell Corey Dickman about it because the price is like a fraction of what he spent on that car already. And I was like, look at all of the goodies you can get on this thing. So here it is. It's a BMW 330i track car. It does have a title, but it is not street legal. It is a partially finished build. It is sold as is, but it has stock cams. It's got lower lift cams for spec E46 racing. It's got the big three completed on all the issues that those E36s have. It's got Apex basket weave matte bronze wheels. It comes with a backup set of chrome wheels. It's got stock calipers, brake tech brakes. It's got OMP racing steering wheel, OMP extra large seat. It's got racing pads with silicone hoses underneath it. It's got all of the things that you want. It's got the vented hood that everyone is so sought after. The reason why it's only 12.5 is because it's a 4-door. But for 12.5, who cares?
With the ZHPs, that's the one you wanted anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the car. That's like I mean, just the fact that it's a ZHP carries a premium, especially in spec racing.
Yeah.
Right. So, actually, I think some of them have been banned, but yeah, that is not a bad deal at all. And, non-op, but still a title. And it's only not street legal in Ohio. You bring it out here to the freedom part of the country, you're good to go, bruh.
America.
That is a great, great car. And, it's got 3 pictures, which tells me that they did spend a little bit of money on that pro membership. So yeah, there it is. And it is ready to hit the track right now.
So get out there. I want to see that thing out there. Get another boring BMW on the track, but please don't bring it to Lemons.
No, don't bring it to Lemons. Use this one to hone your skills to drive your Nash.
Yeah. Totally.
All right. It's a busy weekend in the world of racing. So we've got some upcoming racing.
We've got the True 24 at High Plains Raceway. There are 70 cars, 15 BMW, 8 Miatas, 3 Hondas, but 3 different Hondas, an Accord, a Civic, and a CRV.
That's awesome.
We've got 3 Porsches, an 82 AMC Spirit, an 85 Peugeot 505S, and then we have the competition of the Chevy HHR versus the PT Cruiser.
The battle you always knew you wanted, but were afraid to ask for. It will be settled.
I can't wait to see those two going at it. 13 of these teams are new to Lemons, and a little nod of the cap to the Flying Burritos, who are dragging their 84 Camaro all the way from Chickamauga, Georgia. Welcome to the circus, rookies.
Oh, yes, that's going to be hilarious. And you're doing it at altitude. What could possibly go wrong?
So many wonderful things.
This same weekend, Champ Car is going to be running their Joliet Grand Prix at Autobahn Country Club with Mike Ritter and the guys. They've got 41 cars. Only 6 of those are BMWs. 13 are Miatas. All right. 3 are Hondas. There are no Porsches, but we've got Daring Greatly. We know their listeners in their Cadillac. That's awesome. The follow-on mission, they've got their 78 Malibu SS. And then Battle Scarred is bringing one of their Miatas. I believe this might be the Indiana chapter. So good teams, nothing like kind of standing out car-wise, but still some good, that should be a good time.
Yeah, that should be great. And then we've got the Lucky Dog Revenge of the Underdogs. It's their 7th annual Ron Cortez Memorial Race at Sonoma Raceway. There are, I think this number's grown actually. I think there's 110 cars as of today.
Yikes.
Up from the capped number of 80.
Kathy's just going to find a way to race if you want to race.
Yep. There are 31 BMWs and 21 Miatas. Half of the field
of 100 car, half of them BMWs and Miatas.
So bad. 6 Hondas, 4 Porsches, an 89 Volvo 780 Bertone, a 95 Firebird.
Dear to our hearts. I knew we'd throw that one in there.
Yep. And one of those Hondas, is it an Accord? Is it a CRV? Is it a Civic? No. How about an NSX?
Hell yes. Living the life that NSX deserves.
Yes,
all the other NSXs
absolutely.
are being rubbed with diapers and put away as investment cars. This one's out there living its best life.
Until it gets put in the wall with 110 cars.
Possibly. Yes. So you are still shaking off the NJMP hangover, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But 147 cars, perfect weather, all of the judges. It was Corey Dickman's birthday. It was Chrissy's birthday celebration. We'll talk about all that. Your IOE was Glue Sticks racing that Jaguar X-Type in their Dale tribute, which I think, because that Glue Sticks Jaguar has been around for a while and it hasn't finished a race. I remember seeing it back when I was living on the East Coast. And I think the key to having a questionable car figure to finish is just embrace the Dale spirit, the never going away Dale.
I think Eric Rude said this is the first time they've taken checkers.
Which is probably why they finally got IOE.
Yes.
Now your Halloween Meets Gaslight was wrong way racing, Eat More Hippo and Mazda Miata. I think we saw that one at Pitt. That's the Hungry Hippo / Cheaty Miata, which was the joke on the latest Pitt race wrap-up video featuring both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Your heroic fix was the Neighborinos. Was that the can't go any faster? It's a Geo. They still running that thing?
Yes. Yes.
That's awesome. I got screwed was horsing around. You happen to know the backstory on that one? I know you were racing. You weren't judging.
So that one, I think that was the Honda CRX. So they stuffed it on test day. And then they got it back out on track and they were driving around on track. I was driving the Cressida and I was going into out of the Dragon's Tail into the Octopus, and they got the white flag going and I'm looking, I'm like, I don't see any emergency vehicles. And I get around alongside of him and he's got the hood right up on the windshield.
Oh,
he's like trying to see underneath the hood, and he got his way around and went back out. So they got the car fixed after their crash and then immediately forgot to put the hood pins in.
That's crank stepping at its finest. Oh, got to
Whoopsie.
pin it to win it.
Yep.
All right. Judge's choice was Carroll County Gangstas. Organizer's choice was Italian Job Racing and a Mini Cooper. The regional of a good purchase design was the Chevy Malibu 8 More Hicks of the team 8 More Hicks. That's just basically, it's that rental car, another rental car spec Malibu. That's awesome.
2 Malibus showed up. They had the race spec one, and then one straight out of grandma's, like dead grandma's estate sale, like silver numbers. Send it.
That
It
is
was
so
awesome.
epic.
It was
All right.
awesome.
Hella sweet Interceptor Motorsports in that Mustang swapped Mustang hat car. That was that the Bud the black and white 69 Bud Tompkins or Bud, not Bud, I want to say Bud Atkins. He was a stuntman. But the
Yes, it's black and red.
black and red,
They,
yes.
he took a 69 Mustang and put it on a newer Fox body Mustang chassis.
Which is
And
so great.
when he got done, he said, "For what this car is, I should have just built an old Mustang." I think it's that much better.
I remember we had some listeners actually send pictures of that going, this is amazing because that shop was just down there for my house. My dad always loved this car. That's fantastic. But terrible was Cannibal Cafe racing a Honda CRX. Bad news for the old racing CRXs. Class C, finally, Brooklyn Bomb Squad in that old school first gen Volkswagen GTI. I remember seeing that thing at Pit Race, 3 years ago when they were straightening it out with like 3 trucks and some ratchet straps.
Yeah, it's pretty bent. The car's pretty bent.
That's awesome.
But I think they've been running like 13 years. It took them 13 years to win C.
Oh, that's dedication. Good on
Yeah.
you. And that one, I don't see you guys moving that thing up to B. I feel like you're probably just going to get a waiver.
C laps, that's all.
Yeah, yeah. Class B was the slow and the mellow and that Acura Integra. And overall, Class A, the Boston Whiners in a boring E46. And if they didn't go represent Lemons in other race series, I would mock them, but they're actually good dudes.
Yeah, they need to theme that car though. It's too clean and boring.
Clean is not a theme.
No,
They clearly
clean.
didn't read the signs. I saw the sign that said, no theme is thought crime. Big sister is watching.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
You
that
guys
was
haven't seen
everywhere.
that, poke around some of the pictures on there because that was Christy's birthday celebration. All right. So having done that, we're going to move on to listener
Feedback time. All right. Well, from 2 weeks ago on the tube, Ron from Ronster Wraps adds to our review of food available at NJP. There is a food concession stand on the track side of the general store building, which offers breakfast and lunch. It's food. And there's also vending machines inside the base of the scoring tower. That's available while supplies last, and I don't think they restock those during the weekend.
All right. So also on that one is at Randy, of course, says, quote, at 1 hour, 10 minutes and 4 seconds, Mental says jag off in a Jersey accent, and then in angry all caps, my culture is not a costume. What? Forget about it. It's totally a costume. Your whole culture is a costume. There. I also just last night posted a picture of my t-shirt quilt project because I have an embarrassingly huge collection of lemon shirts that I wouldn't get through wearing even if I wanted to, all of them. And Al Jones said you could have tied all of these into a rope and then used it to climb onto your old trailer. No, Al, I couldn't because I don't have enough t-shirts even with all of those.
Oh, that's so good.
Right. I threw a couple more in there. Sorry. The last minute I changed it to your color.
All right. I don't have that, so I'll just run with it then.
Okay,
all right,
fair
so Moot Point Racing wanted to buy the Dick Ass shirt. And David E asks, are quills even legal in Vegas? Seems dangerous in the heat.
It is dangerous. Occasionally though, Sonoma gets cold. So
That's true. That's true. Bust out those quilts.
Absolutely. So
You know who never says jack off in a Jersey accent?
or probably any accent. She's probably never used the word jag off in her life.
Hi, Chrissy's mom. It was great to see you guys at the race this past weekend. Thank you for all of the baked goods and for the rum cake. The rum cake was fantastic.
And even if you're not listening, we love you. If you are listening, I may love you even more knowing that Chris and Chrissy aren't here. So, wow, almost in record time, we are here at one of it's our double topic, main topic time. So we're going to talk about NJMP because you were there. And then we're going to talk about High Plains Raceway in the full 24 because we're both going to be there, which, I know a good deal of our listeners at High Plains have met me, but if you've never met Tim, now's your chance.
Welcome to the party, pal.
So, overall, how was the weekend?
The weekend was really good. It did not go without its challenges. And the challenges were, I would say, nicely spread amongst all of the things. We had all sorts of hiccups and curveballs, but only one pretty big one, which we'll get to in the end. But it started out with getting from, I'm in Maine now for the summer, and I went to New Hampshire and met Jeremy from Garage Heroes in Training, and we carpooled down together in their race truck, the old El Jefe race truck.
Yes.
So that was fun. We towed down there, got there Thursday. I got to experience the clubhouse shenanigans with the Betty crew. So Bruce and Darren and Craig and Uncle Dave and I were in there having some adult beverages while we were waiting for the gates to open. Very cool spot. Didn't even know they had a pool. Thought about jumping in there once, but it's pretty far away, so because I didn't have a pit vehicle with me. But awesome. Go and check that out. I think it's a great spot to hang out if you get there early on Thursdays. And then we went inside, got settled in. We had rolled in with 6 cars between 3-pedal and Garage Heroes, so we took over a large chunk of the paddock. And then we did
do.
Oh man, it's like a lot. We took up a lot of the paddock. I think we had 5 garages. We had 4 or 5 garage stalls for all the cars. So it was a bunch. And instead of doing the theme on the truck, they repainted the truck. The truck's now red, with still got the panels in the back. Instead of taking the time to theme it on Thursday, we were all hot and we just cracked open a bunch of cocktails and sat around and hung out and said that's a future Tim problem. So that was super fun. Friday was test day. In the morning, we themed the truck. We did a 1984 theme for Chrissy's birthday celebration, as she was born in 84. And we did a lot of different things around that theme. It was basically, we said, anything having to do with 1984, just go with it. And we're just going to throw all of it at the wall and see what sticks. So we did the Orwell 1984 book. We had some people dressed up as the Thought Police. We did on the side of the truck, we used it as a political banner where we had Reagan Bush 84, and we had a bunch of political comments on the side of it, kind of jabbing both sides of everything, which was super funny, but actually triggered a few people, which was pretty funny. And then Prince was there. We had David Lee Roth was there, and Eddie Van Halen. So we had a whole cast of characters. So that was super fun. So a bunch of us, 6 of us, rolled through tech at the same time. And if you've gone to Jersey, you can barely fit 4 cars in there, let alone 6. So we went in hot and heavy, and had a good time. And the Orwell 1984 book, Thought Police theme was funny. Randy Bish was standing there and he's scratching his head and he's like, all right, I got to figure out what are these guys doing? We're just standing there like this. Double ungood, double ungood. Not this that. And Eric, of course, was on point. Kritzler, and then Eric Rude comes over and immediately says, oh, I know what that is, and points it out, because of course he does. So it was that perfect theme where only a couple people get it. So That was super, super fun. We did the Cressida went out, which I was racing, went out and did test day. Uncle Dave went out for a little while. We scrubbed in some tires. I took the car out. I got 4 or 5 laps in, and the Miata caught on fire. So I'm driving by it, and it's the one that's got, I think they've got a 350 small block in it, but they've got
Oh
a
yes,
cutout.
I want to say gun barrel Cobras or whatever.
Yeah, red, white, and blue, and they've got the carburetor and the air cleaner sticking out of the hood. Well, the guy's scrambling to get his stuff off, and there's flames shooting out of the carburetor. I was like, oh, that doesn't look good.
No,
So
scale of good to bad, bad.
Yep, fire bad. But I saw them out on track later that day, so that only must have got just a little crispy and not totally burned. So that was Friday. The judges in tech were super busy. I mean, there were 6 of them trying to prepare for, a bunch of East Coast knuckleheads out there racing together. And then Friday night was a good party. We had an awesome time. There was one 3-pedal mafia guy that normally doesn't partake in the adult beverages that chose to do so, which was bold because he was opening the next day.
Wait, our lead performer? Who? Oh my gosh! Wow, I'm legitimately stunned.
Yeah, he got on the rum train and had a really fun Friday night. He had a really fun Friday night, but not so fun on Saturday morning. So all the Dramamine in the world didn't help him. And
oh, bummer.
A short stint on Saturday, but he behaved himself Saturday night and did good on Sunday. So, but with the race Saturday was actually really clean. Like, I was expecting the first hour to be super crashy and yellow and
it's New
black
Jersey
flags,
and
red flags. Yeah.
Well, it's New Jersey and it's 100. Yeah. Wow.
150 cars.
It seems that everyone actually took the lessons to heart from last year where they started yelling at people.
Yeah. It
That's
was crazy.
awesome.
We in the Cressy, we were trying to do just a 2-stop day, and Dave, he couldn't make it the full 240 because it was green the whole time.
Wow.
So it was crazy. So then I got in the Cressy, and right before I'm about to get in, Betty comes in on the hook, and Darren was in the car, and he's going into turn 1, and now turn 1 it's like 2 car widths wider, and you don't have that crazy blend line. They put kind of an exit ramp for people getting onto the track.
Okay, yeah, because I've seen it in both configurations. That's awesome.
Yep. And so you can scream through turn 1. Well, Darren comes hot into turn 1, and the front wheel keeps going. And and he had a code brown moment. Didn't hit anything or anybody. Came in, and we were looking at the wheel bearing, and Chris said, looks at me and he goes, "Where did he get that wheel bearing from? The Titanic? It's like pitted and rusted. It's disgusting looking. Like, how many races has that been on there?"
It reminds me of when they used to run the TR, and for every race, the one wheel was just getting further and further out, and they would get on their group chat and be like, "Yeah, we need to order that wheel bearing," and they never did until they finally. Oh, that's great.
So I got in the car. I did about an hour and 20 minutes, and started to feel a little clunk on throttle lift. So I radio it in, and Dave goes, "Well, it's either the hub's broken or the diff's going." He says, "Keep an eye on it." So then we were under full course yellow at the time. Track goes green. The clunk isn't there, and then the clunk starts to show up at high speeds too. I radio it in, and he's like, "All right, well, if it starts shaking at all, come in." So I'm like, "All right." It's like I get 2 more laps, and then I start to feel it shaking. And so I came in, and we cracked the axle. So in his car, Yeah, so I'm sorry, we cracked the hub.
Oh, okay. Well, even that,
Yeah.
that's
So
for the
the
Cressy.
hub just
That's yeah.
floats around, and Dave thinks it's a kind of a condition of the last two tracks. So that car was at Road America,
Yeah.
high
Yeah.
speed, freshly paved, super grippy, and then Jersey, much higher speed than normal and super grippy. So we think it just gave up the ghost. It couldn't hold up to the new configurations that they have at those tracks.
Okay.
So we took the
Oof.
opportunity to, while we had the one corner out, if you're going to add parts, they might as
Yeah.
well be super cheaty parts. So we put coilovers in the back.
It seems reasonable to me.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
they're the same price as a used set of struts that are super hard to find on the other ones. So
Because it's a old Cressida. Yeah.
yep, yep. So we put coilovers in it, and there was a concerning moment because the length of the strut on the original one, was I'll call it 30 inches, 32 inches, and the length of the strut on the coilover was about 2 3/4 inches shorter than that.
Ooh, okay.
So we were like, "Ooh,
Nobody
how's this
wants to
gonna
come up
work?"
short.
But because the spring's in a different location, we're like, maybe it'll work. So we put it together, dropped it on the ground, and the ride height was good. So the only thing that it affected is that there's not as much droop, there's not as much suspension droop when the car's loaded up. So therefore, well, if you're sending it around a corner, specifically a right-hander going into the octopus, you'd lift up that rear right wheel and do do like the typical hatchback, like rear wheel lockup as you're going around, and get on the gas and one wheel peel it into the octopus. So,
Wow.
which is
That is
crazy on
impressive. You
a
guys are digging
four-door
in that
car.
hard.
That's crazy. It's
Yes.
crazy. So
That's fantastic though.
I think we talked about he's going to double up the sway bar on that because you can't buy a bigger sway bar. So he's going to put two of them on the back. You basically stack them. He said you can do that. And then some stiffer springs on the front and see what happens with that. So that was super fun. Then the car went back out and ran the rest of the day on Saturday. The Mazda came in for an issue. I'm trying to remember what it was. They had a water issue with something. I think the cool shirt line broke or something. They got flagged for fluids.
Oh, okay.
And they were just shaking the Civic down. The Civic was doing pretty good. The race truck, they had
The
all the
ombre.
exhaust bolts.
Yeah.
Yep, all the exhaust bolts fell out. So they on one side, so they had to go searching around for some exhaust studs.
Because that happens. Yeah.
And then the Civic, the Garage Hero Civic, the sixth car, they had a problem too, where I think they had an oil leak in the valve cover. So a minor thing, but like every car was off track at one point in time.
And
So,
there were, because they even on the Three Pedal Mafia Facebooks, they've even changed the photo now because there were so many cars.
yeah.
Yeah. All
Yep.
right. Because now, and this is Saturday.
This is Saturday. It was
Okay,
very busy Saturday.
Sunday it gets, well, and yeah, I'm jumping ahead here because if I remember correctly, Sunday got worse.
Sunday gets a little bit more depressing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Because I feel like part of the problem, and this was pointed out on one of the pictures that you guys posted by Dr. Florida Man, was while you guys were watching Dave work on the car, nobody was eating chips.
yeah. Well, as I said to Bill Fisher, because he had made the same comment. He's like, "Why is no one eating chips?" And I said, "Because we broke so much stuff this weekend, we would have run out of chips like 20 minutes ago." there would have been so much chip eating.
So much chips. Oh, I'm too bloated eating chips, watching you guys try to fix these cars.
Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. And then Saturday we had potluck. Potluck was awesome. Everybody brought a bunch of cool stuff. Corey Dickman, of course, brought 5 different flavors of potato salad just to rub it in Chrissy's face.
It's his birthday. He can do whatever he wants.
Yep. There was a team that they had the Santa Claus the Elf movie theme.
Yes.
And at the on the dessert, at the end of the dessert thing, they had the pasta with M&Ms and marshmallows and maple syrup that he makes.
Yes, his super, sugar salad. That's
yeah. So they had that on the table. It was disgusting. And I don't think anybody ate any of it, but it was hysterical.
Got all the food groups: candy corn, syrup.
It was so good. So that was fun. Yeah. Then we had some hot tub shenanigans with the trampoline. We had quite a few takers. There were some newbie wranglers that did well, and we implemented a new wash bucket. So you've got to always, like Jesus, you have to always wash your feet before you get in the water. So they had to wash the Maridolade before they threw it at the tub.
There you go. Because you need your Maridolade clean, and there's a lot of stuff probably getting on it every time it hits the pavement in New Jersey.
Yes, gravel everywhere. So that was Saturday. It was a busy day. Weather was pretty good, but it was hot enough and sunny enough where sunscreen was important. We'll talk about that later in just the tip, Chrissy. And then Sunday was super fun. I went out first in the Cressy, did 2 hours and 45 minutes, and probably could have stretched it almost to 3 if I was trying.
Less crashy, more crashy, same amount of crashy?
It was about the same. It was about the same. I had a really front row seat to a good incident coming in onto the main straight with a Subaru and a Ford Focus, and it was one of those like, please put both feet in, please put both feet in, please put both feet in. So it worked out fine. I can't wait for Dave to upload it. And then there was a purple Passat that was going around the track, like terrible driver, like in all of the wrong places, but just hucking it into the corners. And each time he went around the corner, the car had so much lean. The back tire was literally 12 inches off the ground. And I was in the car laughing. And I was like, this is hysterical to watch. Like, I hope this guy's a stunt driver and he's doing this on purpose because it's beautiful. But they were just rookies and just terrible. So there'll be some good video on that. I'll have to send that to you when he puts that up on his page. So I get done with my stint, and we get into fuel and put Steve in the car. And Tim Campbell, big tall Tim Campbell that does safety on the hot wall. He comes over to me and he goes, "Hey, you got a black flag. You guys got to go into penalty." I was like, "I have black flag when?" And he goes, "You just got it." And I was like, "What?" Like, I was in a cool down lap. How did I get a black flag? So Steve's in the car. He drives into penalty. And they were like, "Oh, we got you down for contact with the Passat. Did you make contact?" And I was like, "No, I didn't make contact. I was like I wasn't even racing. I was trying to come in a cool down lap." And I was like, "Is there paint on the car anywhere?" They're like, "No." So then they bring the Passat in, and there's no orange paint on that. So apparently there was a couple in turn 9. There were a couple of calls for door-to-door contact that weren't door-to-door contact.
Just bad angles.
Yeah, it's pretty, and like I said, it was busy. Like it had to be really hard for the flaggers. It was busy out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see it happening. But Corey was ready to pounce when I showed up. He was
finally
ready to pounce.
My time has come.
Yeah, totally. So then the rest of the carnage of the day, the Mazda was running really good until it wasn't, and oil pressure dropped. It opened the windows in the house, and hot metal bits fell out of the motor, and so much so that the plastic drip pan underneath the engine had holes in it from the hot pieces of motor that fell and landed on it and then burned and melted their way through the drip pan.
Ooh.
So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
so that's kind of crazy.
Oh,
Um,
pour some out for the mighty, mighty Mazda 3. It has had a
yeah,
bad year.
it had a 150 rate, 150 miles road miles, and it's done 16 races. I couldn't believe that when Chris said that. I was like, wow, it's done
Yeah.
16 races already.
Hmm.
So that's a lot of hard life right there for that motor. So it looks like he'll know more when he tears it down, but it looks like he may have had a connecting rod bolt break, and that was what the fail was.
Oof. Yikes. Well, and I did get a chance. I saw that picture and I texted Chris and Chrissy and I was like, oh goodness, it hurts my heart a little bit because like that's the reliable one. And he's like, you know, he's not happy about it, but you know, those motors are cheap and plentiful. So
Yeah.
it will
They
ride
got
again.
they got their money's worth out of it for
They
sure.
did.
Oh man.
So
And
the
then the real
next thing, this one, I saw the picture, but terrifying.
yeah. So Chris's Civic, he's running, ST43s, running a good pad, and he's out on track, and all of a sudden he has no pedal. The brakes are gone. So he gets it into the paddock and gets out of the car and he goes and he
And I
looks.
heard that he discovered the lack of brakes when he was doing a buck something
Yeah,
and
yep.
goes to, okay, this is all right. Yep. All right. Now we're just downshifting and pumping. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Pucker,
Yep.
pucker, pucker.
So the outer pad left the chat. It was gone, not a piece, not a hint of what happened, no like note, nothing. Just gone.
Heiser Soze.
Yeah, yeah, crazy. So unless the pad like broke in pieces, um, or if the only thing we can think of is that, or excuse me, if maybe the rotor got thin enough, if it's been cut a couple times, and the pad was thin enough, I can't see how that could be. It's probably a new pad that it could have
It's almost
slid
certainly a
through.
new rotor because
Yeah,
that car did a grid live, but it hasn't
yeah,
raced.
yeah.
Oof. Hmm.
So it had to just break up.
Yikes.
Crazy,
All right. So
crazy,
always have
crazy.
that exit plan. Hmm.
Prepare for the unexpected for sure.
Welcome
So
to
that
racing.
was that was the race. It was pretty good. The race truck also there apparently they need better exhaust bolts because the new ones that they put in also fell out on Sunday. So they had to park it with like an hour left. But I think they had that thing up to like top 25 overall
Wow.
in a Class C car that is like the 75th fastest car on the track.
Yes.
So
As like that generation of S10 goes, like it got sold to them with all of the right parts. But that's, yeah, it's never going to be fast.
no, no, for
And that's
sure.
not mockery. It just is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a character trait.
It's a character trait. Yes. It's a feature. Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
so then we got everything packed up. Goodbye is such sweet sorrow. Just gave everybody hugs and off we go on the road. Um, Jeremy and I headed out of there. We got out at like 5:20, something like that, out of New Jersey, and there was all sorts of night construction going on the whole way up through New Hampshire. It took forever. I pulled into my house here in Maine at 4:55 to a beautiful sunrise.
And
That was
bleary
that was a
eyed
lot.
stepped into your house. I have,
14 pots of coffee. Yeah, it
yes.
was not good.
I feel like everyone listening to this has done that. I know. In fact, the last race you and I were at together, I did that. I got into my RV, drove home, pulled in as the sun was coming up,
Exhausted.
went inside, kissed the wife, jumped in the shower, went to work.
why we do these things to ourselves.
Yeah, we're
But
idiots.
oh, totally. But we're not done. You're leaving for Colorado tomorrow.
That is true. Yes, I will be. I go to work, and then if I, depending on how effective I am after we get done recording this and loading up the RV, I point my east, and off we go. When do you head out?
I have a aggressive schedule. So I'm leaving my house at 6 a.m. on on Saturday, and I land in Denver at 9:45, and then I'm driving to the track. I'm going to stay up all 24 hours and judge the race. And then I'm going to go back to the hotel room after the race, take a shower, get on a plane, and fly back home. So I am going full send.
Oh, I've done that. Last year at the 24, I left work Thursday, drove there, ended up staying up all day Friday because I got there Friday morning. Got a little bit of sleep, and then raced for the 24, and then immediately after the race drove 12 hours home to hop in the shower and go to work. I can only
Why do
do
we
that so many times a year.
why do we do this to ourselves?
I do not know. I'm taking Monday off as well, so I will drive all night to get home, and then like just not be in a hurry about it. So, all right. So High Plains Raceway, have you ever been there?
Never been. Never
All right.
been.
So, just to give our listeners some idea of what we're doing here. All right, I gotta click on the right thing. Hopefully this is what comes up. So are you seeing it? Yeah, there it is. There's the satellite map of the raceway right there. And so to give everyone an idea of where this is at, because a lot of racetracks are out in the middle of nowhere, I'm now going to scroll outwards. Just keep going there. And just stop me when you see a city or something that looks like civilization.
Is that France?
No. That is Denver, Colorado. So,
Wow.
yes. If you've never gotten there, you're going to leave Denver. You're going to drive out on 70, and you're actually, even though it's in Deer Trail, Colorado, you are going to get off the exit at Byers, Colorado, and then you are going to take a slight turn north and eventually head east for 20 miles. So you start in the middle of nowhere and then you drive out. So I maintain this is the most remote track that Lemons visits. It is more remote than Hallett, CMP. It's even more remote than Button Willow. So there's this. Now, facilities, you've got the paddock, and the grid is located behind the wall. It's on the inside of turn one, all of that. You actually, as you pull off the road, you drive around the outside of the track, and the grid is on the back side of that over there. The bathrooms, there are semi-permanent porta potties throughout the John. Then they'll also have some porta potties. Then they have 2 shower trailers. Here's the thing. So all the water at that track has to be trucked in. So they're going to ask you to be a little conservative with their water, and you really should be. They've got showers. They're not the worst. They're not the best, but just doing that one. They do have a really good snack bar there, and it will stay open, or at least it did last year for the 24-hour race. And I highly recommend their burritos. They're like made as you order them, and it's legit. So it's good food. Nearby, there is nothing. It is 18 miles to the nearest town that has one Mexican restaurant, which is great. The Los Tres Garcias in Byers. It's got a general store, which has these really good breakfast biscuits, and it's got a Sinclair gas station. That is it. That's Byers, Colorado, man. So your
Wow.
nearest Walmart is in Aurora, and I think that's about 50 miles away. Now, for the weekend, we can expect rain Friday night, but it's going to be 80s during the day and then 60s at night on that one. So if I can get this to work properly, we're going to go through and see if we can't do a little bit of turn by turn. Now, I have driven this track more than once, and I was actually living in Colorado when they started to build it.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
Yeah, it was and what's great. So first off, the staff here absolutely loves lemons, and the guy that manages the track loves it. And we're once again, Lemons is doing 2 races this year because they really do go out of their way. It's a good staff full of folks. Your paddock, there's a lot of paved areas, and then there's a lot of not as paved areas, but usually the whole grid fits in there. So you'll go there. And if you're following along the track, the way to get on the track is a little bit backwards. There's a bit of a crossover. And let's see if I can get this to work. There it is. Nope, I just get the 1+ on this one. So you actually have to drive through the paddock towards the edge of the track, take a right turn, and then that's going to bring you around a set of bleachers that are right there. And pit road enters on the outside or the inside of outside of turn 1. And then it will you will get onto the track just before turn 2. Now turn 2, or halfway through turn 2. Turn 2 there's plenty of sight lines on this one, but it's like a nice almost 180, probably about a 160, 140 degree, or it's telling me right here, 150 degree radius. Constant speed. There's some pavement differences in there, and depending on what the weather's doing, you might have to search a little bit for grip, but always look to the outside as you're coming into 2 for turns that are coming on. There is a blend line, but I don't know how aggressive they are going to be at calling that, because the interesting thing about High Plains Raceway is at night, the flaggers all become automatic. They just got the electronic signs in the flag stations, and there's a closed circuit television. And that's how Glenn or whoever's running track operations is watching everything up there. So it's a short straightaway, and then it's a quick 90, and then not quite a 90 again for turn 3. Your first flag station that you're going to see if you enter onto the paddock is going to be on the outside to your left. It's very, very visible. It's good sight lines. Done quick and fast, this is really 1 turn. But if you're in a slower car or like a Class C car, it really does become 2 turns.
Yeah. It's a 45. I think that 90 is the feet of the radius.
Yeah, that makes even more sense.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
you're coming into this, and then that brings you to a 2,300 foot downhill straightaway, and it's wide. So don't make a habit out of this, but if you need to get around someone, you can safely go 3 wide all the way down. And that will bring you all the way in. Now there's a turnoff, but you're not going to be doing that. It goes to the right. Build up to this one slowly, but it is on camber, and it's not as tight as you think it is. And sometimes just a downshift and a chuck in, if you've got some heat in the tires and it's not wet, you could throw it in there. If it is wet, bets are off on that one, because it depends on where the water is starting to pool. And then as you come into turn 4, it is a slight uphill. So that'll also scrub off a little speed. This is a good place to make a pass, because you've got 2,800 feet to set it up as you're coming into it. You will then crest a hill after about a 350 foot straightaway before you make a left-hand 90-degree turn that goes down the hill. A lot of people overslow for it just because they can't see. So be aware of that, and be aware that there might be some traffic over that hill that goes down that's coming down. So don't go charging into it blind. Build that situational awareness of what is going to be over that hill as you are coming down this 2,800 foot straightaway. At this point, you've crested the hill. You are no longer visible by anything, because this goes down into a valley, and it is probably a good 1-2 story drop down to the bottom after you make the turn 5. Good place if you've got a lot of power or a lot of momentum. You can get around some slower cars, and usually they're pretty good about seeing you, but you are absolutely going to want to be on the outside for turn 6. And as you're entering into turn 6, it is mostly a 180, but it's shaped a little odd. So don't fall for the shape of the pavement. Start on the outside, make your 1 steering input all the way around that corner. And as it straightens out, you should be on the outside gators unwinding that. And that's under perfect conditions. It will get crowded down there, but you're going to want to build up a lot of speed, because now you're starting to, it's a slight 750 foot like straightaway right there. Good to get some passes if you got some oomph. And then it's a smooth flow right, not quite on camber. It's just ever so slightly off until you get to the top of it. And then it's back to being on camber where you'll crest a hill again that brings you into 8. But these are some good places. And once you've got a feel for that one, you can really, really get some grip as you're coming up. Now, the top of turn 8, the tower is a bit hard to see as you're entering. So just as you get to the top of turn 8, you really want to start craning and looking to see here what that flag is waving, because any trouble on the other side over here, and there sometimes is, this is where the Dodge truck fell on its side a couple of years ago. You're not going to be able to see it until you come hauling into it. This is a flat, very slow corner. And if there's any sort of moisture on the ground, it really, really gets slick. So take your time, be patient, get all the way through the corner, and the flag station is there on your left. And then you want to make sure that you've got a good launch coming out of that, because it is back downhill into 9A and 9B, which is just a quick jog right, a quick jog left. As you are getting into 10, it's deceptive because you're going downhill. You're going to pick up a lot of speed, and turn 10 is slightly off camber, and it will get dirty very quickly. Just the way everything washes out down there, because now you're back in the valley and you're behind the hill on the other side of the paddock. And it's a straightaway into 11. People get very stubborn going into 11 because as they exit 11, you're going up turn 12, which they even call ladder to heaven. So they are really adamant about their track position, because slightly out of position, it absolutely ruins your exit out of 11 and into 12. So just be prepared to be a little stubborn. You may have to pass on the outside. It's a good turn if you've got some power. If not, you're just going to want to protect your momentum and do the outside, inside, outside as you're coming up. But check all your mirrors as you are charging up turn 12. You get to the top of the hill and you can see 13. It's a short straightaway. You're at the top of the ridge line. You're looking actually down a little bit into the paddock onto the rest of the track. And 13 is a little more deceptive. If you remember a couple of years ago when Chris and Chrissy were judging this race on the Outlap, their podcast host took a Miata right into the mud. Didn't even finish one lap. This is where I went off right there. Just, it is a almost 90-degree left-hander, but it is downhill and you are losing traction as soon as you start making that turn. So be smooth and not only pay attention to what your car is doing, but expect other cars to slide or to take up more space than they should. It's a very short dodge into 14, which is right, and then back onto a left, which brings you onto the main straightaway. They call that one the corkscrew. It's labeled here on this map as Prairie Corkscrew. And then it is an uphill run down the straightaway. Now, as you are exiting 15, the entrance into the pits is right there on your left. Obviously, you signal as you're coming into 14, let people know, and you'll figure out the pattern in that one. And it's a good deceleration lane, but it is a pretty long pit lane. So make sure you're adhering to the speed limits. And if you've got an emergency, sometimes they'll let you kind of escape out of that, but usually you're going to have to limp it all the way back up. And penalty is going to be located here. So you have to run the entire length of the hot pits, turn left and then left again. And everything backed up to pit wall is RV parking and then the carport. So this gets very, very crowded with pedestrians and bicycles and skateboards and people doing performance art. And you're going down by the snack bar. And this brown building here, Tim, is where you will be. It is the covered paddock. The snack bar is a trailer that is backed up underneath it right there. And it is also where Lemon's HQ will be. And then this is the race control building. And it's a good place to see if your car's coming in on the hook or anything like that. The main straightaway, very wide, good place. If you need to get out of position and pass a bunch of people, go right ahead. Just make sure that you are prepared for turn 1, which, as mentioned, just slightly under, maybe a 75, 80-degree turn to the left. It's flat, so it's not off camber, it's not on camber. And it gives you a good opportunity to check to see who is coming down pit lane before you set up into turn 2. I'm not as good as Chris at these things, but I feel like that was a decent overview.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Okay. And if
Everything I've read before and I've watched a few videos just trying to get myself familiar with the track, and everybody that I've talked to or I've listened to, I should say, they all talk about turn 10 being like that's the biter on the
yes,
track
because
because
you pick up
unloaded.
momentum so much faster than you think you could. It's usually dirty and it's slightly off camber, and it will get you in trouble. I've charged down that hill so many times and seen a dust storm at the bottom of it, knowing that somebody just overshot it. Yeah. And so again, bear in mind, so at night, the flag stations, they're not manned. So they have the giant screens. So black flag actually kind of looks like a white flag because they can't flash black on there. And at the end of the main straightaway, they've got one of those traffic signs, and it will have your number on there. And whoever is running race control, I believe it is Pagel, and they will begin to count how many times you ignore that sign. And then they will put it on the sign, to the great amusement of the rest of us. So always check that sign to make sure that it's not you, home slice, coming in there. And then they'll get on the PA and start telling, hey, car so-and-so, your guys ignored us now for about 20 minutes. You might want to make a phone call or, get them on the radio, see what's up, bring them into the pits. If you've got, and they'll go over all this in the driver's meeting. If you've got flashing yellow, that's a full course yellow. If you've got the yellow, and I don't know if they'll be doing it. They have done the 35 where they want everyone just doing 35 because they're doing recovery or they're running around to pick people up or deliver food or things of that nature. Their recovery crew is really good. They don't look it. They look like, oh God, these guys are going to be idiots, but they do this a lot. It's a club level track and they are quite practiced at recovering cars. If you go off, make sure you call your team. There are one or two places where at night, if you have an electrical failure, the closed circuit cameras don't see you. So the car will sit there for a while. And a few years ago, they had somebody that actually kind of like got out of their car and walked to the freeway, then walked around to the track and said, hey, so after about an hour, I got out of the car. I know I'm not supposed to, but nobody came and got me.
Poor guy.
And so, yeah. And because you are 20 miles from nowhere, if it is not a moonlit night or if it is cloud, it is dark. Just so dark. So if you run a day shift, do the old Ross Bentley trick of pay attention to the perfect lap, know what the bumps feel like, know what your muscle memory of return in is, because they are going to be ruthless about the lights. Bob he wrote the rule book on it last year and everyone was really, really happy. So no lights above a certain point. It really cut down on the dazzling in the mirrors. It was actually a lot of people were fussing when he was doing the tech inspection on it, but everyone was happy afterwards because nobody was getting blinded by the lights on that one. But you're going to have to learn to feel the track in addition to seeing it.
There'll be a light tech inspection on Friday night from, I believe it's 8 to 9:30.
Yes.
And there's a certain distance they'll put the car from the wall. I think it's 25 feet.
He has it taped out. He has a board, and if your lights go above the mark on that board, you fail. Come try it again. And so I don't think that you're just going to tape over your lights, and then when it gets dark, pull the tape off the lights. They will black flag you like that. So
I would love to see you on that one. That is absolute dickery.
Yes. So let me see if I get this straight. You passed the tech and then you ignored, because there was a couple of teams that had like the high pointed lights on there. And last year he threatened them with, if those lights get turned on, I'm going to hammer you. And they did not turn those on. So yeah, it was.
Don't think for a second I won't show up to the side of your car with a flashlight in your face. 4,000 lumens in your face.
There you go. Yeah.
Why do you think you're here?
One of those you could buy it on TV flashlights. Yeah.
Burn paper with it.
All right. And as always, we will have a link to the Trax website and the map that I just talked through in our show notes. So thank you for joining us, all of that one. I'm going to go through this, but Eric, I want you to join in because we did this last week, but there's only 3 people that know we talked about this, just the tip. But we're going to talk about it's summertime, and we're going to talk about dehydration again because it's summertime and you're racing a car. Now, dehydration is defined medically as when you use or lose more fluid than you take in, and your body doesn't have enough water and other fluids to carry out its normal functions. If you do not replace those fluids, you will get dehydrated. Now, in the summertime, you already know that you can sweat more than you can take in while you're drinking water. Add to that if you're going to be at high plains, you are now at altitude. You are almost at 5,000 feet. Altitude exacerbates dehydration because it pulls water out of your skin, and you are in the high plains, which is a dry part of the country and will also pull the water out of your skins. Your symptoms: extreme thirst, less frequent urination, dark colored urine, fatigue, dizziness, confusion. The last 3 of those things you absolutely do not want operating a race car at night. So, as I mentioned, at High Plains Raceway, it's going to be 80s during the day. You're going to be more dehydrated than you think you are because you're not going to be sweating that much because it's actually going to do what it's supposed to. It's not very humid there, but it's going to suck that water out of your body. When it's humid, you actually run a higher risk of this because you're getting hotter because it's not going to work. You're actually going to be able to maintain your body temperature. Just understand you're sacrificing hydration to do it. And you want to stay on top of those fluids during the day. It's going to be aggravated. Any dehydration can be aggravated by strenuous exercise. I don't know, wearing a fireproof suit for 24 straight hours, being on a high starch and protein diet, i.e. you've eaten nothing but burritos and beef jerky for the last 3 days, and alcohol consumption, which right up until the start of the race, a lot of people are going to be doing. And having been there on a Friday, it's going to happen. So also recognize that at altitude, alcohol can hit you faster than you think it can. Oh man, I can drink all this many beers when I'm back home. Why am I drunk now? Well, dude, you're high.
Yeah.
But
the altitude hangover is real too. So
100%.
if it doesn't get you on the way in, it'll get you on the way out.
Yes. All right. So stay on top of all that stuff. Remember, sodas and coffee that you'll be pounding all night, those will also aggravate your dehydration. So stay on top of that. Listen to whoever gives you the safety briefing Saturday morning. Drink water. Actually, don't even wait till the safety briefing Saturday morning. Start drinking water Friday night. Just stay on top of that. If you're partaking Friday night and you're drinking alcohol beverage about every second or third beer, go ahead and just chug a bottle of water. It just keeps you safe, man. But Tim, you've also got some rock solid advice on this.
Yeah. So another one is, even if it's overcast, you will still get sunburn. So put on sunscreen. Even if you don't think you're getting burned, it's going to be too late by the time you realize it. One of our favorite hosts, Chrissy, may have forgot to put some sunscreen on, and she got a little bit lobster-like. So I told her that I was going to make fun of her and use her as an example for all of our listeners to, as a reminder, always put on your sunscreen or some sort of covering, like where they've got the UV arm covering, sit underneath a tent, like whatever you can do, get out of the sun. It'll only make your life better.
The worst sunburn I ever got in my life was actually when I was in college. I went to Colorado for a football game at the Air Force Academy, and I was wearing a hat. It was only, I'd say 75, 80 degrees, but we kept looking up, and I actually scabbed my forehead, not wearing sunscreen. And you can see right where the ball cap had stopped because I got so sunburned, because you are that much closer to the sun, and you will get sunburned in Colorado faster than you think you will. So
yeah,
just look after yourselves, wear that sunscreen. Yeah.
And if you have friends that like to play pranks, check your sunscreen and make sure it's not white paint before you lather it all over your face.
Oh God. Now I'm gonna have to lock my sunscreen up around you guys. That sounds awful. Don't do that. Just don't do that.
Don't do that, please. If you're gonna do it, at least make it pink paint.
There you go. Because then they recognize immediately that it's pink paint and
Yes.
go wash it off and put on some sunscreen. Oh, all right. Tim, what are we going to do next week?
Well, we're going to talk about what happened so wonderfully at High Plains for sure.
Yes.
And I don't know, I'm sure we'll come up with something else. Maybe we'll talk about garages or something exciting.
Ooh, I like it. Yes. All right. We know we're going to talk about dream garages. We're just not sure when. Hopefully we can do it. Yeah, next week. All right. I think we're done with this topic. Tim, again, you have been stepping up. I really, really appreciate it. We hope you're enjoying Tim as much as we're enjoying Tim. And if you're not, we can't be friends because Tim is awesome. So thanks for being in there. Thanks for looking after everybody. And I will see you in 2 days when you are jet lagged bright and early. I think my RV is going to be nearby. So if you just need to go get a power lap, yeah, let me know, man. We'll be.
I appreciate that.
We'll be right there on that one.
And enjoy the time away, Chris and Chrissy. And you guys are gonna have an awesome trip. So enjoy France.
All right. Hey, everybody, thanks for downloading us. Hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers, and we hope that you're going to join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer, even you. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then go over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating. I think it's been a year since we've had a 5-star rating. Even if you hate us, just give us the 5 stars and tell us why. And then come to me at a race and say, I grudgingly gave you 5 stars, even though you suck. You owe me a beer and I will give you the beer. If you've got questions, you've got show ideas, you drop us a comment on our Facebook page at Everyone Racers. Email us everyone.racers@gmail.com. Unless you are an Instagram influencer and you want to talk about our search engine optimization, I don't care. Stop it. You can still text me at 484-243-0455. Send me those pictures of your junk. Find us on Instagram at everyone.racers, YouTube and Facebook, of course, and even Reddit, which I promise I'm going to update our Reddit thread at /E1R. Thanks again. Until next week, keep the shiny side up, especially if you're racing at High Plains Raceway, because it is so very, very dark. And we're going to want you to keep those wheels down.